Hello and welcome to ReelTime Talks. I'm Krista Embry with ReelTime Animal Rescue. I have two really special guests today. I can't wait for you to meet. Ralph and Gail Roland from the Roland Senior Dog Rescue Gang in Melrose, Florida. But before you meet these two rock stars, we're going to give you a little sample about what they do to make such a difference in the lives of these precious babies. Welcome, Ralph and Gail. My goodness, how do you even follow that? That is just so precious.
Yeah, we made those videos on, but we've made several of those, so they're pretty cute.
Yeah.
Oh, they're wonderful. Give us the background. How did you guys get started in such a specialized dog rescue? Because so many people rescue all sorts of dogs and breeds, but how did you guys get involved with the senior dog rescue?
Well, it started at after I retired from the Navy. I somehow found my way working for animal control in the county just for something different to do. Worked as an animal control officer for a little over a year, and then I left, but then they opened up a position for an adoption rescue volunteer coordinator, which they'd never had before. So, and the director asked me to take that position, which I did. And basically it was started from the ground up, implementing programs to get more dogs adopted and get more volunteers in to help. Of course, this was like probably right at the beginning of Facebook had just started getting a little bit popular. So we didn't quite have the Facebook or the social media that we have now back then. So it was mostly emails. But one of the things that kind of hit me was that my office was right by the intake, and I would see all these senior dogs being turned in, whether it was a stray, but mostly by family members of someone who had passed away and they could no longer take care of the dog. And so they would, of course, bring the dog to the shelter. And at the time, it was a kill shelter. I'm happy to say now that they're basically a no-kill shelter in the county, which is some things have changed so much. But the director was senior dogs were immediately taken to the back, and they were euthanized because they were deemed non-adoptable, and they did not and they didn't want to spend any money or time on that animal. And it sounds just so cruel, but a lot of people don't understand that county shelters work off a very, very small budget. They get the least amount when it comes budget time. And a lot of the things that they get, they have to beg for. So money is so tight. And that's just one of the things that you have to do. So
he told me that every day they would load up a back of a truck with black bags full of dogs and take it to the dump.
Yeah, that were
every single
So
day.
Anyway, we changed that. I mean, there was 85% when I got there. I left at about 15% euthanasia rate coming through the door, which was good. Not good enough, but anyway, the older dogs would come through. And one day this min pin came through with you could just see how she was just sweet and she was just petrified. And I said, well, don't, and they would take them to the back, put them in cages beside these huge, dogs that were loud, and these old dogs just can't take it. So I said, put her in my office. And so I ended up putting a cage in my office for him. And then I would call Gail and say, hey, I've got this min pin, I've got this Chihuahua, I've got this, mix, whatever. And she would say, bring it home. So we would unofficially foster, and then we would just go ahead and adopt the dog. Get it? At the time, there was no vet or vet tech on staff there. So we would take the dog to our vet and get them get them sterilized and get them up to date on all their shots and everything. And so we would keep them. And so I think we built up to maybe 10 dogs that were living with us. And
Wow.
when I left the shelter, they continued to call me and say, "Hey, we've got this very old, little Chihuahua that just petrified, has no teeth. No one's going to adopt it or whatever." So we would go out and we would just basically just adopt it, so we could have a home. And then after a while, we decided, hey, this just turned into a full-time job, basically keeping up with the dogs and everything. So why don't we start a nonprofit for senior dogs? Because there's one in Jacksonville that that's a senior dog rescue. They're not, I don't think they're very active that much anymore. And most of them are foster based rescues,
Right.
where they will not rescue a dog unless they have a foster spot to put it in that someone stepped for. Well, we're a sanctuary style. We do fosters, but if we rescue a dog, it's coming here to live with us on our 10 acres. It's,
Wow.
In our house.
in our
not
house.
In a cage.
Yeah, we don't cage any dogs. That's one thing I just could not stand when I worked at animal control, was just putting the dogs in the cage for 23 hours a day and 23 and a half hours, and they get out for 30 minutes to walk around a little bit or whatever, and then they spend the rest of their time in a tiny spot. So all our guys get free roam of the house. Certain areas. We have gates,
much
as you
as
can
possible.
imagine. We have gates and little baby gates and fences everywhere throughout the house to isolate.
But it did build up over the years, going, okay, these dogs are making a mess in the kitchen. Maybe we should isolate the kitchen. And they still go back in there a lot, but
they can visit, but they can't stay.
Yes.
Exactly. So what was the time frame when you guys stepped away, Ralph? When did you step out of that shelter and start the nonprofit?
I left the shelter. I left the shelter in 2012, and we started kind of unofficially. I started a Facebook page. I had a dog that was our dog. His name was Barney, and he was a min pin, and he'd been a breed dog and left in a cage all his life. And she actually adopted him from a local rescue, brought him home, and he was so skinny and weak, and they called him Tippy. I said, "This dog is not going to be alive in the morning."
He said, "Why did you bring home this dog? It's just going to die in a minute." It looked like it would fall.
So he blossomed and turned into
over.
my best friend, and he slept right beside me in the bed, and he followed me everywhere. He did not know how to play. He did not know how to do anything with a toy, but he knew he wanted to be around people, and he would try, but he just didn't know what he was doing. And, his idea of playing was he would like frog hop around on the ground, get excited, and that was it. But he lived a long life. We started a Facebook page, and we decided to call it the Gang. It was the Roland Rescue Gang, I think, was the original page. And it was Barney speaking to people, saying, "Hey, Pops is here," or, "Hey, look, we got a new."
That's how we got our name.
We got a new person here, and then it evolved. And after a while, in 2014, we got our official IRS 501c3 certification, or author, whatever you call it, and our paperwork, and we got registered with the state of Florida Agriculture Department, and everything else we have to register with, and to become legal. And then we started rescuing. People started calling us, and at first we had no money. We spent a lot of our own money.
We got up to 50 some dogs, and we were like, because people would just keep bringing them, and we had to start trying to make it manageable for us because we were getting overwhelmed.
Sure.
So we have it's just mainly us two. We have a volunteer, Michelle Kent, who comes by on Mondays and Thursdays and spends hours here with us, and she helps anytime we need her, especially on the weekends and stuff. Her and her husband Mike, and there she is, right there. There she is, hanging out with
That's her.
Winter, Mr. Winter.
Her.
And she's awesome. She has become our adoption coordinator, and she runs it like a business. I'm telling you what, she stays on the phone. She follows up.
Wow.
Well, my biggest thing is I'll get phone calls or messages from people, and I'm so busy doing everything else. And in my mind, I'll say, I need to call that person back this afternoon about this.
Yeah.
And I get so busy doing everything else. The next thing I know, I'm checking emails in the morning going, I forgot to call that person, or I forgot to do this.
He had this problem that he thinks he can do everything without help, and he won't let you help him. So realizing that this is not always possible after 8 years.
So anyway, she's taken over that role, and she does it awesome. We've got a dog going. Well, actually, Sugar leaves Saturday for her new home.
Now, I do want to hear about Sugar. I want to hear how you came about that. Who's this? Do you have in your lap right now? Who is that?
Now, this is Sadie. This is actually our dog. I got her from the shelter as a puppy. A lady came in and opened the shelter door and actually threw her in the air across the lobby and said, "I don't want this dog anymore." Well, I was going to go after the lady, but I went after the dog first. She was, but she was tiny. And so I said, you know what? She was just sweet. I said, I'm taking her with me. So I got her fixed and brought her home. And she's been with us now for over 15 years. She's the first dog that will greet you when you come to the house. And she absolutely loves everybody.
And what's her name again?
Sadie.
Sadie. Sadie Mae. Now,
so she was lit. There was little Sadie and big Sadie.
She's slowed down quite a bit in the last couple of years. She can't jump on the bed like she used to because she sleeps above my head on another pillow. So I have to pick her up and set her up there sometimes because she still tries to do it. But
well, you can tell you're her daddy. Look at that. Oh my God, how precious. Now, who do you have, Gail? Who's in your lap?
This is Dixie. She was our neighbor's dog, and he said that she was in pretty bad shape and blah, blah, blah. She needed a place to go. So we took her in, and she's not helpless. She's not in bad shape. She's awesome.
Well, you know what I think? I think some of these animals maybe fake it to get to your old's place. I would if I were a dog. I'd be faking it just to get into your old's care. You're amazing. Well, okay, so yeah, back us up. Tell us the story about Sugar, and then I know we have a very special story to share.
Okay, Sugar. We work with we know a lot of the rescues in the local area. We work with a lot of rescues and have a lot of friends. And one of our friends from it's a rescue called Fur. I cannot think of what it means. Something urgent rescue. Anyway, Florida Urgent Rescue. I think it's great people. They called and said they were in Union County, which is a very small rural county in northern Florida. They have really antiquated facilities. They keep their dogs outside in basically their wood and chain link crates that they built up for storage. And she sent me this picture of Sugar, and she was just, her skin was almost completely yellow. She had about a 6-inch diameter open sore on her hip from laying on concrete.
Oh God.
She was very, very, very thin. Just looked terrible. And she was the girl says, "I'm here." She's on the euthanasia list, and they're already starting to pull the dogs, and they're going to pull her within the next 2 hours. And I showed the picture to Gail, which, that's the testing thing. And I was like, yes, get her. And
the
so
sad part is she always says
yes.
So bad for the dogs. I always say yes.
So we had no idea her temperament. We had no idea. I asked them to make sure she was okay with other dogs, and she seemed to be. And so they pulled her and drove her down. It's about an hour and a half drive from that shelter here. And they had a volunteer bring her to us. And she just turned into the sweetest. I mean, she actually had 4 brothers and sisters that were there because the gentleman that had the dogs had them taken away for cruelty. But by state law, animals are considered property. Yeah. And so they actually gave the sisters back, our sister and brothers back to the owner, but we had already gotten Sugar. So and they look just like us, but they're not white. They're different colors, same face, same body style. They were breed dogs, and bred several times, but she's just this big sweet.
How old is she? She looks fairly young.
We think she's maybe 4, 2 to 4. We don't know. She has beautiful teeth.
Her teeth are perfect.
Just a sweet temperament. It's hilarious to watch her get excited. It's like a bull in a china shop. She doesn't know her size, and it's like discovering new things all the time, especially outside. She's never really had to play like that. So we think they kept them pretty much pinned up in a concrete slab style cage. That's why she had so many wounds on her, which we've gotten all those healed up, and so she's. Her
and I were running around the dining room a couple of days ago, and she grabs at my pants, but she gets my skin in there
That's
too.
her new
and
thing.
pinches,
She'll pinch you.
and
Little pinch.
and she's so big, and she just knocks you down. And
Yeah, I think it's funny. Her name's Sugar. It should be Tank. I mean, she's huge.
Yeah, her nickname is Shushu. That's what we call
Shushu.
Shushu.
I call her Shushu. And
What a doll.
She's going to a family that has this nice, big, strong man, tall, big guy, young guy with kids, and she is going to have a ball. He says that's going to be his riding partner in his truck.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Now, she had some ear issues. Is that correct?
Yeah, she was actually, whoever, I'm sure, assuming it was the owner, when they cut the ears for the pit bulls. If you don't know what you're doing, you can really do a lot of damage, and that's what they cut hers way too short, so that the rough side where they cut gets infected.
We're talking about.
So we have to keep. When we first got her, it got really bad. She actually had a mass on the side of her face from the swelling in her ear.
Oh my God!
So after a course of antibiotics, we got that healed up. But we have to keep some triple antibiotics on both of the sides of her ears where they were cut, and we have to keep we have to flush her ears just because they're so open. There's no protection for her ears now. Your dog's flaps are for protection. They're a reason that they're there. And so she has no protection. So anything, dust, everything builds up really fast inside her ear. And she's so much better. Okay, girl, I'm right here.
So the man that is adopting her, he is, whenever he gets off work and he takes a shower and he cleans his ears with Q-tips, he cleans his dog's ears. I said,
so he got approved right there. And I was like, okay.
Well, I tell you what, when you rescue, you run into all kinds of special situations to find somebody that's going to love this baby and treat her like family. She deserves it. She deserves it.
We're facilitators. I say we take the dogs from the sources that know us, and then we facilitate their passing on to where they belong in the first place, and they should have been. So we believe that it's divine intervention. We're like
Amen.
It's a portal.
I hear you. Now, I want the viewers to hear a little bit about this next story, but we're going to tee it up. We're going to share Phoenix with you guys. It's pretty hard to watch, but I'm telling you, Ralph and Gail are true rock stars, and you're going to see why.
Hey, buddy. Is that tail wagging? Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Look at mama.
tell you what, if people didn't know you all before that video, that says it all. It tears me up to watch it. Tell me the story, because normally you all focus on these senior dogs. Because he's young, right? Phoenix is a young boy.
We had no idea of his age at the time. A very good friend of ours is a vet tech who works with us. Her husband was doing some work on a property, and a gentleman came over. It's a hard story to hear, but it's the truth. He came over and said, "Hey, he was doing some work on the yard. He says, can you come over with your shovel and dig a hole for me?" And he said, "For what?" He said, "For this dog." And he goes, "What dog?" And he points at the dog who's laying in the middle of a half-acre mowed field with a heavy log chain on a huge collar on a spike driven in the ground. The dog's just laying there. He has no food and water there. He's he basically thought he was dead, and he walked over and he said, and he started to, he just kind of whistled, and the dog's, what saved Phoenix is his tail. His tail started wagging. And so the guy turned around and said, "This dog's not dead." He says, "Well, not yet, but he will be." And so the guy said, "Well, can I take him?" He says, "I don't care. Just get him out of here." So he picked him up. He was completely paralyzed. He was, if you see in the video, you'll notice his color is gray. Yeah. He was so anemic, so malnourished, so dehydrated. So they brought him in, and they immediately gave him some sub-Q fluids to try to get something going in him. And he couldn't even raise his head he couldn't open his mouth to eat or drink. And so by the second day, he had started to eat and drink, and a little bit. You see in the picture, he couldn't move his body, but he could start to move his head. And so then she called me and said, "Is there any way we could take him?" Because it's a small clinic that they're in, and they really don't have room to keep him there.
They were afraid the man would find out.
It was a kind of a story where this goes back into dog fighting in this area, and they were worried that maybe this other guy that they knew was a dog fighting person, it may have been his dog, so they didn't want him to be identified. We didn't identify the people who rescued him or where he's at. So, and she just didn't want him to be there in case something happened, because they knew who she was. So we said yes, because she's helped us so much. And again, I can't say her name because I just don't want it to be involved with it. But we went there and we picked him up, and actually her husband, who actually saved the dog, just was basically crying when he carried him out to our truck, because he didn't think he was going to live. He said, "I don't think he's going to make it." Well, when he got in the truck, as you see in that video, that's when I turned around, turned the camera on, his tail's wagging.
But otherwise
he couldn't move. And we're like, and so we brought him home. We had a gigantic bed for him, and blankets and pillows, and
in the dining room,
and we hand fed him, and we hand watered him for about 24 hours, every 3 hours, so that he was getting something, not too much. And then I went and took a nap, whatever. And I woke up in the morning, came out, and he's actually raising up his head, looking around. And within a couple of hours, he was actually able to finally roll over onto his stomach, where he, like a normal dog, would lay down and look around for a few minutes, and then he would collapse back down due to not enough strength. But it built up over a few days to the point where he tried so hard, and then he was eating good, he was drinking good, and then I guess a couple of days later, he decided it was time to stand up, and he stood up. But we noticed this color change right away. He went from the gray. I mean, when we saw him, there was no life in his eyes. They were just gray circles.
Broken. And totally broken.
His eyes, and the tail never stopped wagging.
Oh my God.
And even at night, you could hear it banging against the side of the wall. And he got up, and he would take a few steps and fall down and take a few more steps. And then by, I don't know, 3-4 days later, he was walking really good. And that's when we realized that this is not a old dog. He's a puppy. And so we'd already committed by then. So we kept nourishing him and kept working on him. And he got happy, and he got healthy, and he was running and tearing everything up and ripping beds apart, and just being a dog like he was supposed to be. And we were lucky. We got him in. He was healthy enough. We got him neutered. We got his shots. We got him. And believe it or not, unbelievably, he was heartworm negative, which we could not believe. We figured
that's amazing. I would have guessed for sure he was heartworm positive. Wow.
And so we got him all suited up, and we found the right person that had a farm with other animals that had a big open space, and we took him there, and he just immediately acted like he'd been there all his life. He plopped down. There was baby goats running around. We were worried about how he might interact with smaller animals running from him, because the gentleman has lots of chickens and goats, and he actually has 2 emus, and he has potbelly pigs running around, and he was just and is just at home there. He just likes to lay under a big old oak tree and just chill, play around a little bit, and so he's doing great now. So it's a success story. So
how long was his recovery? Because I honestly, I did not know until you just said that the pictures with him being gray, I thought that was just in the photo. I had no idea that was from
that was the day he was brought in, and he looked. I thought it was the pictures too until we looked again. So I wanted maybe the camera just caught it off color, but no, he had a gray tint to his skin.
He was actually a pretty
and his
brown
face.
color.
Oh, he's gorgeous. But his face and everything was just a different color to his whole body, and the transformation. So it took a couple of days. Actually, the next day you started to see the change in him right away. Once it was basically dehydration and malnutrition, but the water, the fluids is what he needed. He was like probably hadn't had water in weeks. We don't know.
That's why we thought he was an older dog.
He looked old when we got there. You know, he's like, this is an old guy. Why would they do this to him? And plus, we didn't mention him. He had scars all over his entire body. And this, not sad, but once he started to heal and put the weight back on, all those scars or those wounds started reopening because he was putting on weight and his skin was stretching, and he was getting fluids in him. So we had to retreat several big ones. One on his hip opened up really bad, and so we had to treat those. And but they all healed up. I always tell people it's shocking what just food and water will do to a dog. When you proper nutrition and water, dogs heal themselves with most things, especially wounds and things like that. But he was just not taken care of, and he was not. He was basically left to die. So it's a good ending, And
it is a good ending. Here's something that I feel about real-time animal rescue and bringing you guys on ReelTime Talks. What we try to do is show the process kind of behind the scenes of animal rescue. So many people don't know the hours and hours that go into saving one life. And how, just ballpark figure, how many hours would you say it took from bringing Phoenix in your home until he found his home? Months, day? How long?
It was a month.
1 month. 1 month, he was already back to feeling, wow.
No, a month to 6 weeks. I'm not good with remembering the exact time frame because we do everything the same every day.
How long a dog's been here?
We can't remember sometimes.
It seems like they've been here weeks.
It was August. It was August, so this is what, November? It was October. Oh, so we'll say 2 months because October's when we went over. But he, it was. If you saw us on the floor there, we would spend an hour on the floor, each of us, with him to feed him and talk to him, and of course we had to take care of the other animals. But it was constant throughout the day and at night. We just kept working with him because Gail was just livid because Gail's like, I'm not losing this dog. I've never seen her more passionate about a rescue in my life. She's like, we're not losing this guy. I don't care what we got to do. And so luckily he pulled through, and he's one of the good stories out of so many that are bad. I hear you, but
I know. Let's take a look at the after effects of what the love that you guys gave this baby. Let's see. We have a little footage here to show you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You gonna walk for me? Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, Baba. You can do it. Yeah, that's your poo-poo. What are you doing? You're walking.
It makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it? When you see that. Wow, you guys truly are rock stars. Okay, go back. I hear, and we've seen some of your live streams with Fun Day Sunday. I love that. Tell us about
that. Kind of started. I did a quick video one time of giving the dog some treats, about 2 or 3 minutes. That was it. And a lot of our followers on our Facebook page, because I do it Facebook Live, they were like, when are you going to do another thing of the dogs or whatever? So I haven't done one in a while. I need to do one. I've been so busy, but I would just basically set the tripod up with my camera facing in the back room, and I would just start going live and just me giving them treats and watching them interact with each other and me, and I could not believe how many people just wanted to watch it. They say you need to make it longer, because one lady told me, she goes, I'm on my computer, I sit in front of my computer doing other work, but I put that video on just as comfort, and I let it play over and over just so I can watch the dogs. Even if the dogs are just laying there sleeping, they liked it. And then a lot of them started to remember their names, so they would say, like we had a little fluffy Pomeranian. What's her name? The one that went to
Diane?
Yeah, her name was Diane, and she was blind. And she always stayed with me, and but she would come back there, and she was the boss of those treats, man. She would get right there and loved her treats, so I would zoom in every once in a while. Well, then one video, she wasn't in the video, and the lady was just frantic. What happened to Diane? Well, she had gotten adopted by this great couple, and so she said, but they knew when a dog was not in the video that they had seen before. They just want to know where that dog was at. So, and now we do kind of an outside thing that we're doing with YouTube, is we take the dogs outside, which we do like 4 times a day out of here. And we'll just shoot a video of them walking around the backyard, having their fun time and getting their sun and just being dogs like they're supposed to be. So
Exactly. Well, we're so thrilled to have you all as part of Real-Time Animal Rescue. One thing I do want to kind of give a shout out, this coming Saturday, isn't it this Saturday? You guys are the honorary guests on a float. Tell me about that.
We actually have some supporters that are local here. Last year, they out of nowhere, they built a float, a really nice float, just for our rescue. And we rode in the float. We rode in the float last year, and we take a few dogs. And it's a small town, Melrose is, but a lot of people show up, and it's
maybe a 10 city block.
Yeah, it's a small thing, but it's great because they make the float up all about our rescue.
Wow.
And we took the dogs and had fun. So we're doing that Saturday at 10 again. And this time they said the float's better than it was last year. And so it should be 5 of us on there with dogs to wave and show up. And we're going to try to stream that. If the signal's not good enough, then we'll just we'll video and then upload it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So what babies get to make the float? That's fun.
Huh?
What pups are you taking with you?
Who was going on the float?
We're gonna
Dixie.
Take Dixie, and who else?
We're probably going to take
Oh,
I don't know if they're going to take a little bit or not. Probably a little bit, and then we might be taking Elvira here. She's one of our oldest girls here.
She came with her brother, and her brother had cancer, and he died like right away, and she got depressed, and a big psychic story, okay? Dog psychic, okay? But after she talked to the dog psychic, that she never met, she was happy. So,
wow.
You're doing great.
Wow.
We don't want to put a lot of stock in that, but
They work.
Yep. Oh, that's okay. You'll have to live stream this, and we'll have to see you guys. And like you said, if it does it, make sure and upload it for sure. Well, I cannot thank you both enough for everything that you do. The little trailer with Pippin and JoJo. Oh my gosh, I could watch that all day long. I'm glad they made it to you. I do think the word's out, though. I think if I were a dog, I would definitely fake it to get in with you all.
Yeah,
I would do whatever.
I don't know if we took senior people, so
yes.
Yeah, I think I like the 4-legged better too.
I like to know where they're going to live too. Take me in.
Exactly.
I need to be in the backyard,
Well, there's absolutely no way to tell you how awesome you guys are and what you do, the specialty. Thank you for your service to our country as well, Ralph. We appreciate that. That's your heart. Oh, you are? Well, thank you as well. I had no idea, Gail. That
Yeah.
is fabulous. Well, that is truly heart, and that's still paying out because look what you do and the difference you make every single day. So thank you guys. Thank you for being part of Real Time Animal Rescue and joining us today for Real Time Talks. Be looking for more wonderful live feeds that Gail and Ralph will be putting out on their precious senior dogs. Gail, Ralph, thank you so much for joining Real Time Talks today. And thank you for sharing your precious stories and the updates on these little souls. For all of you who would like to help sponsor these beautiful little angels, please visit the Roland Senior Dog Rescue Gang. They are fantastic. They're out of Melrose, Florida, and they need your help. They need sponsorship dollars. They need a donation, volunteers in that area. Help them out. Please visit their site. And to see more from them live in action, please join us at Real Time Animal Rescue. Join our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You will never miss out on the action. Thanks so much for joining us today. And until next time, we'll see you in real time.